think we're good. Yep. Let's do this. Well, so last week in F1, last week in F1 at Silverstone, we had a Mercedes 1-2, not Mercedes 1-2, a Red Bull 1-2, a Mercedes 3-4, and Ferrari, shockingly, no points. And it was just wild all the way around. But that was Silverstone then. This is today. We are in RPL F1 Season 9. We're at the halfway point of the season, Round 11. We are at Hungary for this race. So, Ty and Ironwolf on commentary for tonight, and I'm not alone. Joining me once again is F2 and Tier 2 commentator Ryan Alcon. Good to see you back again, man.
It's good to be alongside you once again. I am ready for the action. And like you mentioned, Ferrari, no points last week. That was a shocker. And that meant Darius, the chiller, same person. You know, we call him different. Either way, no points for him. That was the first time since the end of last season. Now there's a new record we're looking at with Darius that could be broken in a way, and it wouldn't be in a good way either. The last time he's DNF'd from a race goes all the way back to round number 12, Hungary last season. So this gets spicy in terms of finishing races now. We saw that he was inconsistent with points finishes. Well, hopefully he can get back in the points again this week, and hopefully he can continue finishing races, because one streak ended, you don't want two to end, and that especially can happen very quickly in RPL. And speaking of very quickly, we saw a lot of action last week that happened very quickly. A couple of argy-bargy moments in the last lap, and then a little battle for the lead. You know, I wish we had two screens at the end there on the last lap. There was just so much action all the way throughout. I'm really grateful that we've got two back-to-back races that have been absolute thrillers, and they've not had a single safety car in it too.
Absolutely. So, just to recap from last week's race at Silverstone. Like I said, Red Bull 1-2. It was Reese that wound up winning with, let's see, who's Toby? Oh, yeah, Bourbon as in second place. And third, I'm trying to remember. I'm not familiar with some of these first names, so.
I know, Boss Cookie was third.
Oh, Boss Cookie's third. Okay. Yeah, I'm having a bit of trouble figuring out some of these people's real names. So
I know.
Owen's gonna have to help me in that sense.
I know. I'm not liking it.
But yeah. So, anyways, in the drivers' championship, Reese has continued to extend his lead. He is now 41 points ahead of Scyther, crazily enough, once again not here tonight.
Third week in a row.
So Scyther's sitting in second right now, but he is actually vulnerable to falling to fourth, with TB sitting in third and Darius sitting in fourth with 107 and 100. Scyther's still sitting in that second with 112, and that gap's going to fall even further. In the constructors, Red Bull continues to stretch their lead even further, going up to 71 points ahead of Ferrari. And Mercedes is still pulling away far from the rest of the field. They're sitting in third with 151, but we do have one change. Aston Martin loses fourth place in the constructors to McLaren. McLaren getting ahead of them with 79 to 77. Well, let's take a look at our field here. So we got 19 participating. We'll have to take a look and see. I believe there is going to be a couple that have bans because of switches in the lineups here. So we have Cryptic in the Mercedes, Bourbon in the AlphaTauri, Luke and Zakaria in the Aston Martins, George in the Haas, Blue Gagi Alfa Romeo, Boss Cookie the other Mercedes, Chaco in AlphaTauri, Cam in Alfa Romeo, De Chiller in Ferrari, Beatnik Williams, Lewis Piper McLaren, That Person Alpine, Josh and Reese in the Red Bulls, Rev Fire in the McLaren, Minico making his Tier 1 debut in the Williams, TB in the Alpine, and lastly, Jack in the second Ferrari. We do not have a second Haas in this event, and as some of the cars are just setting themselves up and enjoying themselves, Josh did have the benchmark on an interlap with a 21.6, and Reese is wound up clubbing that away with a 16.1 on the sauce for the Red Bull.
Nick enters on a dry track, as you wanted me to mention last week. We get to mention it this week. No surprise there. Minico, Boss Cookie, all trying to figure out setups before going on dry tires. With that said, you mentioned Minico making Tier 1 debut. We also have Cam making his second start. This time it should count in terms of points if he does get it, or classification on the race result, because I believe he signed up on the Tier 1 form. You'd have to double check that one Titan.
Yes, he has.
All right, cool. So that
he is all good.
That will count. So he is perfect there. Luke, obviously, on an Aston loan as well. Previously in the Williams the last couple of weeks. It's Minico in the Williams, obviously first start here. And Gagi with his second Tier 1 start of the season. His previous came at Saudi Arabia. That was a 9th place finish, but I don't think he finished. So a lot that has gone on in terms of switches and changes and everything else today as well. So good to have the drivers prepared and ready for this one. As you said, halfway throughout the season, Belgium, which starts the second half, it feels like the summer break all over again in a way. But yeah, it should be tons of fun to see. And not only that, but you mentioned Scyther, not here for the third week in a row. It disappoints me because obviously you had the Drivers' Championship, which could have probably had some sort of battle before I started missing races. Now it's kind of questionable on whether there will be a battle or not. So we'll just have to find out and see throughout the remaining half of the season as well if there will be or not.
I mean, to be fair, even if he comes back a bit later on, comes back and races some more, he can possibly still claim a championship if he needs to. I mean, going back to season 6, I think it was season 6 or season 7. Oh, it was season 6. He wound up missing 7 races in a row, and he still won the Drivers' Championship, despite missing nearly 2 months of racing.
Probably try to do that again. That would be scary. I would be scared.
It'd be insane, yes.
His average finish that Owen posted earlier in the week, I would be scared of it too. I don't blame any of the drivers. The thing that's different this time around, though, is Reese and Skither have been the two most consistent drivers to where it's a little tougher to figure out on whether or not that can be repeated. Skither in his races has not finished worse than second, except for the finish in Imola. When he's raced, that makes his average finish 1 point something, whatever it was when Owen posted it. And then Reese only has 1 finish off the podium. So, you know, those are the two who, besides Skither's races that he's missed, that's why those are the two who are farther out front than everyone else. So that's why it worries me that it might not be done this time around as well. As you've just seen Red Fire Tiger go third on the board right now. I want to mention something about him. Obviously, we have been aware of the last week, and even before that a little bit, the McLaren car update with the game update that has been published. The big thing about Red Fire Tiger this season is, believe it or not, he's the highest driver in the Drivers' Championship without a top 5 finish. 13th in the championship. And I've looked up through the history of RPL, like he's usually consistently up there toward the top 5 and stuff like that. And to me, that we're about halfway into the season, he doesn't have a top 5 finish, and he's in a McLaren that's improving. Surely it has to come at some point. We'll just have to find out when that will be, and that does worry me a little bit too if you are McLaren, or any constructors' points you're trying to gain on your competitors.
Indeed, and actually, speaking about when you mentioned about with Lewis Piper, his teammate Rev Fire just actually put his McLaren in third right now with a 16.4. And you know what's kind of, and And actually, I just remembered I missed something, but it looks like Cryptic has gone at place for it. Yeah, Cryptic just put in the event note. He forgot about it, but thankfully he did it. It's going into effect for Q2 onward. So the rule is you can't cut any section of the track to get back to the pits quicker. If you do so, you'll be given 3 penalty points, and also keep your all 4 tires on the white line in order for your lap to count. Because as I was on board with Zakaria, he got out from turn, I believe it's 12 that he just came out from right at the end of sector 2. Turn 12, like I said, which is right at the end of sector 2. Last season, you could actually have all 4 tires off that part of the track, and your lap can still count.
Yeah.
But we put that in the rules to make sure, that it counts.
Yeah. Makes total sense. It's an easy reminder. It's an easy one to forget. Easy one to forget too. Excuse me. As Cryptic calls it quits for Q1. Yeah. The thing that I noticed at a track like this, you can't really cut many places. You could try it, but you can't really gain time from doing it, except for really turn 4 that I can think of personally, and maybe the chicane. You know, that is exactly why it's important. You want to leave, obviously this is for people still in Q1 and going to compete for Q2. You probably want to leave around 2:20ish, maybe 2:10 at a latest, maybe 2 minutes on the dot. It depends on traffic, obviously. But if you end up leaving later than that and you're at risk, you cut the chicane, that's exactly why there is a bunch of issues from that could be created. You get to the flag with 2 to 3 seconds left. Well, did you gain 3 seconds from cutting that chicane? Well, probably. So that's why it's as big as it is with that rule, and it's about to look too for anyone who does it, in my opinion.
And it looks like the Chiller just crossed the line to put his Ferrari into 2nd place right now. So we're I can't tell how much time. Oh, there we go. 6 minutes 45 left in Q1. With Blue Goggy and Jack, they're going to be starting at the back of the field because they have quality bans for being last-second reserves and changes. So only 2 more are going to be knocked out in Q1. Then in Q2, 11th through 15th wind up getting knocked out, and then in Q3. Top 10 fight off a pole, and it'll be quite interesting to say the least in that, as Reese has decided to call it. Currently 5th place. I'd say for sure he is definitely safe.
I would agree with both Cryptic and Reese's decisions right there. And since we speak of Cryptic, highest driver in the championship, P7 without a podium, his last podium under the season, 8th finale at Abu Dhabi. So maybe looking to feel safe for this time around. And a good track for Mercedes, who was just short of the podium last week.
So while these guys are currently going through getting some of their laps in, as Owen has joined in, he's going to be taking the 2nd Haas. So Owen will be going out for his recon lap, then he'll back out. So basically Owen, Jack, and Blue Goggy, they'll be serving their quality bans as last-second reserves. And it's going to be quite interesting to say the least. And even though I wound up missing quite a bit of it while we're thinking about it, as Chaco comes across, only goes 14th fastest. That's a decent time to say the least.
Absolutely.
How did tier 2 go for you yesterday?
Also, check the Twitch as well with my mic, because Zakaria said there was something up with it. Regardless, I'll answer your question now since you go to check that. I thought Tier 2 racing yesterday was actually really good. I thought the first, I'll call it 8 or 9 laps, was very iffy. I saw a lot of questionable things, and things that we'll get into detail on stream with, and especially the start being part of that. with 2 safety cars in the first 5-6 laps, that was not the best of looks. But after that, the drivers figured it out, being a third of the way in and onwards, and they really got themselves situated. As we see a couple drivers cross the line, they really figured it out. And as there were 11 finishers, even with the limited amount of finishers in a even limited amount of field, with 16 drivers turning up, I tend to notice that the racing, as the finishers kind of came down, it was really, really action-packed. It was Bunkers trying to get to the field there, and after he spun from the lead earlier in the race, and as he was trying to get to the field, Valkyrie just continued to defend, and Beatnik was continuing to hold on to the lead, and he ended up winning. And, Beatnik's like, well, this is technically the third time I've came to win, but none of those previous ones count for Tier 2, so I'm hoping this one counted. And, yeah. Instincts
it should this time around, yes.
Yeah, exactly. I don't see anything on him yet, so, Instincts obviously on the podium as well. I mean, just small good stories from yesterday's race, a lot of action throughout the whole field, so it was a fun one to watch.
Awesome. So, speaking about with Tier 2 next week, I believe Owen and then they're going to be working on the calendar for it. Next week, Tier 2 will be kicking off their 10th season of Tier 2. It's basically going to be the 14th season overall. F2 next week will be kicking off their 18th season. That's going to be quite wild because tomorrow it'll be shown on stream here at 7 p.m. We are going to be having the driver draft to see who is going to be placed into what for F2 Season 18. So just to go for a quick little recap how the draft is going to work. We're going to be taking all the drivers that are signed up for the full-time seats of F2 Season 18. They will be placed onto one wheel on the wheel of names. Then we're going to have a second wheel. That wheel is going to have the 11 teams on the F2 that are in the F2 game. We'll be spinning the team's wheel once. Whatever team that lands on, that team is going to be then removed from the competition for F2 Season 18, and then the draft begins. We spin the wheel. Whatever driver it lands on, that's going to be the first person to be drafted. Then we spin the team wheel to see what team they're going to be on, and it's going to keep going until all the seats have been filled, and whatever 4 drivers that are not selected, they will be placed as standby drivers. And what standby drivers do, if a full-time driver is not available to race in an event, the standby driver will come in and take their spot and race in there. So basically, altogether, with the 24, the full-time, and the 4 part-timers, at this moment, at some point in the season, you'll be able to see 28 individuals on the championship board. Now, it could be more if more people are interested, but we'll just have to wait and see when that season progresses on. And with the F1, next week they kick off their second half of the season in Belgium, which, by the way, we found out that the little test thing that Tier 2 did earlier in the season, that test is not going to be coming in to this event. Well, it's going to be quite interesting to say the least as everything gets all packed up. But now, back to the action here. We have just under 30 seconds left to go in Q1. And by looks of it, George is going to be the first one to be knocked out because he invalidated somewhere.
He wiggled.
And Chaco, he's in the bottom 5 right now. He needs to get himself out of that bottom 5.
Yeah, Gruggers wiggled at the S section, and that's where the invalidation came from. Checkered flag is out. Fake TB, L74G, they are through. L74G just clocked in a lap time, good enough to come through. You see Choco on board right now, coming through the sector split. 3/10 of an improvement. Beatnik as well, who's currently 15, a tenth of an improvement, so Beatnik's going to have to improve more. The first car coming across the line is Domenico. Tier 1's debut, can he get through? out of Q1, comes to the line. Yes, that's
Wow.
by a big margin. Wow. Also coming to the line is Galatasaray. Chaco's through. Phoenix gonna have to improve. And here he comes up the final corner, potentially knocking out Bourbon Boy. He cannot do that.
He did improve, but sadly it wasn't enough. It was a 10th up, and sadly Beatnik knocked out. 0.4 of a second separates him and the 15th place of Bourbon, but what a lap by Minico. Tier 1 debut, and he's 9th on the board in that, Williams. Is it wrong of me when I say this? Minico is, if I had to put it simply, Minico is basically displaying Alex Albon type of pace, and Beatnik is Logan Sargent.
Well, you could argue that for sure. I will say, the least though, this is similar shades in RPL version to Cam at Austria, where in Austria, Cam was absolutely put in the top 3 when it was possible, as you see 5 different teams in the top 5 with that said, and Cam is one of them, by the way, since we speak of him. Yeah, at Austria, he was one of those drivers who snuck in there, and it seems like Minico is one of those drivers who was in a backmarker car, sneak into the top 10, and that top 15 who get through 8/10, that gap is between them. So we are in for a close Q2. Chat, get your predictions in for who you think is going to flop in Q2, but it's Owen, Jack, Goggy, Groggers, Beatnik, the bottom 5 from the end of Q1. Any surprises there of anyone who got in or was out?
Not really, in honesty. I mean, if Beatnik wound up improving a little bit and actually got Bourbon knocked out, Bourbon would have been a bit of a surprise elimination from Q1. Just, I mean, Bourbon last week in Silverstone wound up finishing 2nd in the Red Bull, and he actually just mentioned in the chat saying that the AlphaTauri is probably one of the worst cars he's ever driven. So, I guess the car control is not playing any favors to Bourbon so far in this Q session.
Absolutely. If I had to say any specific surprise, it's Minico, because of how little we've seen about Minico. Minico coming through with a stellar lap, I would say, throughout the Q2.
Oh, yeah. No doubt. He did pretty dang good getting that 9th place. And also Cam showing the same stride that he did in Austria, putting that Alfa Romeo P5 after Q1. It's going to be quite unique, to say the least. But yeah, Q2 has just started, and Josh is actually is coming out early, and looks like Bourbon has also joined out as well. I think it's time. I think it's time for our fun predictions times. Let's go for our fun prediction times. Let's start with you. Who do you think is going to be knocked out from Q2?
First, I want to check if the mic is fixed, because I know Zakaria was talking about it. I don't think I can fix the staticness from it. Yeah, the staticness is not going to fix itself, so I completely apologize right there. Since you're talking about predictions, I'll get into it now. Bourbon will be out. Zakaria will be out. Fig TV will be out. Hate to say him, but I think Redfire Tiger will be out. And I'm also going to go with, I hate to do it, L740 is going to be out too. It's so tough. You know, the competition is so close. I think Minico actually does get through to Q3. Big surprise there.
Let's see. With my predictions, I'm actually going to agree with you on 4 of your 5 choices. I'm going to agree with you on Bourbon, Zakaria, TB, and Redfire to be knocked out of Q2. But for my 5th, I'm actually going to be choosing Chaco. I think Chaco is going to get beaten by Minico for the 10th place spot, and I think the gap between the two is going to be under 0.08 of a second.
Well, it shall be interesting to see, to say the least. The driver who's currently on a lap time is Bourbon Boy. Obviously, only driver to go through the first sector right now. Has just had that purple sector stolen from him. Hugging curb is going to go through the S section now. You want to go for entrance or exit, almost having his teammate get in the way of Chaco right there, but as we come to the final two parts of the F section. Curves to the left right there. Those could be deadly if you hit them the wrong way. Now coming through here, he's going to end off Sector 2 with the 55-0. Little traffic in front, some people starting the lap, but here he comes, tunnel two corners. You can't really overtake here that often, but if you send one from a far way back, you better hope it sticks, better hope it lands, and he's got the Alpine starting lap right in front of him. He's either going to get a dirty air in front of him or a tow.
That's that person right in front of him. Well, 17-1 to kick off his time. To kick it off, not a bad lap, but it's possible. Maybe Bourbon feels. Maybe is it possible? Maybe he got hindered a little bit by some of the traffic he was running into in Sector 2 and in Sector 3.
That's really the big thing that we're going to talk about today when it comes to this race and qualifying traffic. You know, especially when it comes to the overcut, undercut area. That will be a big thing. Guys who have not pitted yet going to be in your way. You also have as well in qualifying the same exact thing that could happen. Traffic. You just saw it right there. And I want to go over quickly just some tricky corners. I would call it the S section of tricky corner, the second to the last corner tricky corner, and turn 4 tricky corner when it comes to these tracks. Those are sections that that stand out the most to me, and also the chicane too. There's a lot of tricky areas around the racetrack to negotiate for these drivers that we're going to have to pay attention to at some point, as Josh, with a 15.8, has the fastest lap time as we stand right now.
And Lewis Piper just came across the line, a 16.2 for him. The Chiller right behind him came across with a 16.4. And that person, 16.6 for his time, as more cars are filling in to get their times onto the boards. Let's see who is next. I think that is that Minico coming across? Minico, well, had a 17.0, but unfortunately invalidated. So he's going to have to go again. As Cryptic's just starting his time lap now. Red Fire now coming across the line at his 5th fastest with a 16.4. And who is next up to cross? Well, that's Luke starting his time lap. And a couple cars have just come in to start their get into the pits after coming off on their cool down laps. And speaking about with some of the corners, as you were mentioning, there is three sections of the track that we ought to definitely watch out for, because these drivers are going to have to watch out for, because there could be track limit warnings and penalties, as TB invalidated his lap out of 12. That is one corner where you could possibly get track limit warnings and penalties. Another section is that tight chicane, which is where Red Fire is currently going through right now. And the third section, where you could wind up getting into trouble with track limit warnings and penalties, is turn 4.
Turn 4 is always tricky, especially if you're in a wheel-to-wheel battle.
No doubt in my mind. So currently 7 drivers, well, Cryptic just answered with a 15.8. What a nice lap there for Cryptic. Currently 9 milliseconds clear of Josh. I believe, no doubt in my mind, these two are definitely going to be safe for Q3. As Luke came across the line, he's currently the slowest right now with a 17.3. So currently 9 drivers have set laps right now. Only 6 left to go. That means Zakaria, Chaco, Cam, Reese, and Minico, and TB. Cam actually is on the lap, but he invalidated, I'm probably going to safely assume, out of 4 or in the chicane. That's where he wound up invalidating, as he's just having some issues with that car. Car's just getting loose on him. But he's just working his way to get back into the pits. I think probably to go onto a different set of tires. I'm thinking that's what he's going to do. Yes, he is. He's going back into the pits. He's going to go onto a different set and just try again. Zakaria currently on an out lap, so he'll be getting his lap done within the next minute 20, minute and a half. We'll go on board with him for this lap here. Get our telemetry up. Let's go. Whoa, baby.
Boardman Boy also on the left now as you see Zakaria spinning out. Boardman's actually just invalidated at turn 4. That was the tricky section we're talking about, and it is come by these drivers once again. Yeah, this should be interesting in terms of the cutoff. Not all 10 drivers have set laps here, so it might be one and done for some of these guys. As for others, they're going to go out either right now or they're going to go out just only once later. And it could be twice if they match it perfectly. I think of someone like LSM4G who set a lap time just recently and then went back to the pit lane. He'll go out for 2 runs. But most of these guys are currently on track. It's going to be tough for them to go out for 2 runs. As Zakaria 27.5 at the sector split. Turn 5 right here. That's a tricky corner. Don't ride that inside curb. How about this gain, though? You want to touch these curbs. Touch, and outside curb. Here he goes. All the way now to the gas section. It's a very off-camber section in some extent. Here goes the exit of sector 2. 54.7 at the sector split. Now your final 3 corners right here. Again, a very, very corner right there in terms of how to hit the apex. Right here, you don't hit that outside curb. Could go spinning, could lose the rear. Right here, Zakaria, a little slide, but set it up beautifully before that. And now the final corner, which could set yourself up for a little traction loss if you're not careful enough. Zakaria comes across the line for 8th place.
Yeah, 16.8 for him, and yeah, he was getting a little slidey in some of those corners. And as you mentioned, with turn 5, that is also another corner you have to be careful of, because taking the inside line, if you touch that inner curb just a little bit, that curb will send you into a spin. Believe me, I've done it I've had it happen to me a few times in F2. I've seen it happen to a couple of times in Tier 2 and in Tier 1 at least once or twice in the past. So, I mean, literally, that inner curb in turn 10 is not good. Uh-oh, I just lost my partner. Oh, there he is. What happened?
I was trying to fix my audio for the stream because it's fine on my end, it's fine on your end, but on the stream's end, it's very weird. So I'm trying to fix it.
Oh, okay.
People
no problem.
There you go.
What? Well, you were fixing that. Detura just wound up setting the fastest lap with a 15.5 in that Ferrari. And Reese wound up only getting 6th fastest with a 16.3. So, comparing him to Josh right now, Josh is ahead by about half a second. I'm thinking maybe with Reese, maybe he got a little loose somewhere and lost some time someplace. Because usually seeing him this low right now in that top 6 is a little strange, in truth.
Yeah, I'm wondering, is he hiding something, or is that his genuine pace right now? Because, Reese, 2 wins on the season, most podiums of any driver at 8. I really wonder, is this the normal him right now? I don't know. I don't think it is, but surely he's gonna be hiding some, right? Cam's coming across the line now in the Alfa Romeo. He's gonna go 5th. So once again, sneaking his way up
nice.
there.
I'm thinking also the team principal of Ferrari, George. He's probably going to be taking some notes on Cam's pace here, because I'm thinking if Darius backs out from a race or Scyther goes MIA on a race again, I'm thinking under the possibility Cam could also be a good contender to fill in in the Ferrari car. Especially since he's putting in 5th place Q1 and Q2 for right now. I mean, hell, who knows what kind of strong pace he'll have in the Ferrari.
Yeah, it's very scary if you are the rest of the competition and you see Skiller out again, or the Chiller cannot perform to Ferrari standards and Cam goes in that car. It's very scary if you are a driver in that situation. Luke comes to cross the line, goes 5th fastest in the Aston Martin, so he saved himself a bad time right here as his teammate comes out right in front of him. The thing I was going to say about Cam is, it's very hard to get rid of Skidder, so if you're the Ferrari team principal, in my opinion, you wouldn't get rid of Skidder, but if he does miss more races, that's where it's like, we got to put Cam in that car when Seattle does miss the races, though, because that is prime opportunity to get Ferrari back in this hunt for the Constructors' title. 71 points they're back from Red Bull now. They were just 29 points back not too long ago. So, yeah, a lot going on in the Ferrari stable right now, as I think Fake TV is backed out of this lap for whatever reason it is. Very
true. I'm thinking TB must have made a mistake somewhere, so he's deciding to save up just a little bit and just try again. By the way, I did catch your message. You did sound a little bit choppy. When you were talking.
I don't know why. You know, like, you can hear me fine through like the party and stuff. Like, I don't sound staticky like that, but through the stream it's like that. So I don't.
Yeah,
really
it sounded a little screwy to say the least there.
Yeah, but not through the party though, I would assume.
I don't. No, not in the party. In the party, you're perfectly fine.
So that's has to do with the stream. I hate that. It's fake TV. Obviously, spent a lot of time in the session for the first time. It looks like Choco and Minico will be the only two drivers who end up getting one lap in.
Yeah, with only 60 seconds left, Choco's basically his lap is going to be a one and done. His concern, he just has to make sure he doesn't invalidate, and he'll be in good shape. Some of these guys are just getting their final laps in. Currently, the bottom 5 right now: Minico, Choco, TB, Zakaria. That person, they are at the bottom of the pile. And crazily enough, Reese, by the way, Reese is actually in the bubble. He may not be safe unless he puts on a barn burner on this next lap.
And
so here comes Choco as he comes out of the final corner. He's going to come across the line, and it is only 11th fastest. Wow. That is very unfortunate for him there.
By 200s as well. Cam's coming off the final corner now. I think he's going to get to the line just in time. 7 seconds to spare. He does get to the line just in time. Also, Zakaria, I believe, just went 10th fastest.
Yes, he did. But now he's out of it. TB goes 7th.
Yep. And it's all going to get closer once these guys continue to cross the line. Minico's the one who's next in the Williams, who shocked everyone in Q1. Can he do the same in Q2? Comes across the line now. I don't think it's going to be enough. It barely is, though. It barely is. 5,000. Reese now is in danger. He's the next one across the line. He's got 7/10 in the lap right now. He could go fastest over Darius.
Indeed, as Reese comes out of it, and he comes across the line, and it's a 15-2, bashes his way into the top 5, and unfortunately, that eliminates Minico out of Q2. Red Fire coming around now as that person goes across the line, goes 11th fastest, so that person is out of Q2. Red Fire inserts himself in. Getting into 8th fastest. Choco abandons. He is out. Let's see about Zakaria. Can he get it done? Let's see what he's got. He comes across the line. Only 13th fastest. So, I'm going to say, unfortunately, off of our times here.
Right, I think. No,
we got Bourbon right. We got Zakaria right. Well, I got Choco right.
That's true.
So basically, you had 2 out of 5. I got 3 out of 5.
Yeah. Yeah. I had about a 5. There are some surprises, but it was bound to happen in a qualifying session like this. Red Fire Tiger, by the skin of his teeth, had a lap there as well. Lewis Piper retiring in the pit lane as well. He somehow safely threw 1,000th, separating Bourbon Boy and Lewis Piper in terms of getting through into Q3.
Wow.
That is scary. Yeah, it could have been just, I don't know, who got on the gas faster. It took a certain line.
Even though I had the drivers wrong, I did technically say that the gap between 10th and 11th was going to be under 800ths, and I was basically right in the ballpark.
Well, the gap between 10th to 15th as well is in an area that separates 3/10. It's Choco for AlphaTauri, Bourbon for AlphaTauri, Minico, that person, and Zakaria. To me, I don't think the AlphaTauri's are the surprise to me. I think it's that person. I did not see that person going out in this qualifying session.
Nah, neither have I. And you know what's more nuts is that after Q1, the gap between first the gap between first and 15th was 8 tenths. After Q2, the gap was only 9 tenths.
Yeah, to the
Between the
elimination
top
zone.
10.
Exactly. I agree with you on that one. Chat, there's 5 of you watching. Get us your predictions in for Q3. Titan, what are you thinking for poll time? I'm gonna go. I'm really debating on a 14-9 or a 15-0, but I'm gonna say 15-0 for this qualifying session.
I'm actually going to be on board with you in that one. I'm going to say 15-0 as well. As Reese got a 15-2 after Q2, so I think a 15-0 is likely to happen.
We knew either he was off the pace or he was hiding something, and it was both. He was hiding something. It was as simple as that, and now it's showing. As for Reese, he's just left the session, so we'll have to get him back in, but out of the teams in this qualifying session, 2 Red Bulls, 2 McLarens, 2 Mercedes, that's 3 teams with 2 cars in. Then you have Aston Martin with Luke, Alfa Romeo with Cam, Ferrari with the Chiller, and Fake TB at Alpine, meaning there are 7 different teams in this Q3 session. We see that happen once again. Titan, top 3 predictions from you for pole position here? And onwards back to the top 3?
I'm probably going to say for my top 3, I'm actually going to go dead on and say it. I think, well, once he gets back in and rejoins, there he is.
Yeah.
I say Reese is going to get pole with that 15-0. Second, I think is going to be Darius. He's probably going to Reese and Darius. I say the gap is going to be probably somewhere between 1/10 to 2/10. And for third, I'm actually going to go extremely ballsy, and I'm actually going to pick Cryptic for third place.
Okay, so you're not the only one going ballsy here, I guess. All right, so I agree. Reese will be on pole. Very easy to say. I know. After that, and I was thinking of going more ballsy, but I just can't do it. Boss Cookie second.
Oh, come on. Don't chicken out.
Josh third. Boss Cookie second. Josh third. But here's what I'll say, okay? I was going to put Lewis Piper in the top 5 or top 3, but I'll do this, okay? I said,
right.
What, Reese, Boss Cookie, Josh? I think Cryptic and the Chiller fighting for 4th and 5th. Fair enough, right? But Cam's going to sneak in there like he has every session so far. He's going to sneak in the top 5. Not too bold, but definitely one of our bolder predictions, as we're about to come to the flag to see who sets the banker times for provisional poll right now.
First one's going to be Josh.
It could be Josh for the first one. Josh comes across the line. The benchmark's a 16-2. What's Darius going to do behind that? 16-0. We are already 16-0 as we stand. Surely it's going to improve because L74G goes second fastest. Behind that, Cam, who's impressed us all section, just like he did in Austria, hasn't validated, but he could be going for another one. Boss Cookie goes 15-2. So now we are getting close to our pole prediction time of a 15-0. Next is Lewis Piper. Lewis Piper barely made it into these sessions to Q2, to Q3. Where's he going to go? 15-8. How about second place on the board for Lewis Piper?
Very good indeed. Now, the next one would have been Cryptic, but unfortunately he invalidated somewhere, so he is going to have to go again. Red Fire also invalidated. Next one's actually going to be TB, as Reese is coming out and getting his outlap worked on. So TB, let's see what kind of a lap he is going to be willing to go. I'm probably going to say it's going to be in the low 16s. And yes, it is 16-1. That puts him 4th fastest right now. So 3 drivers are going to have to retry their lap. This time, these 3 being Cam, Cryptic, and Red Fire, and Cam has invalidated again. So Cam is not having a good time so far in Q3.
Everyone who's set a lap so far has been within a second, so the competition stays close to the front of the field. It's now just a matter of what you can make of it. Can you improve any positions? Can you not? I have to say the least, Fake TB, although he was previously earlier in the season at Red Bull, he impresses me right in discussion. I always think he's just going to be out, No, he slides his way in somehow every single time. And what he does is, he does what Pure Gasly would do, right? Where with Gasly, he runs in a top car such as Red Bull, can't do anything from it. And it's funny because Gasly's an Alpine now too, and Fake TB is an Alpine, and he's able to, I wouldn't say outperform, but perform to expected standards where he couldn't do that at Red Bull. So obviously a big improvement there with Fake TB, as now it's a Mercedes 1-2, Cryptic and Boss Cookie. Boss Cookie leads the way. Red Fire goes 8th on the board, as L74G is thinking of flat tires on a dry track. Didn't say he was going to do it, so he was thinking of it. But Reese is on a lap right now. That's the most important thing. The Red Bull driver, who leads the Drivers' Championship and has been the face for the Constructors' Championship. What's the sector split looking like? It's a 53-8. It's purple. So, where is he going to go on the board in comparison to his rivals? His teammate is 7th fastest right now, trying to knock that Mercedes 1-2 off the board. Can he do it? Coming to the final corner, Reese. 2 wins on the season already, the most podiums in the season already. How about 3rd place? It's not enough, though. 4th pole position right now. As we're halfway through the qualifying session, he's gonna have to go out again if he wants pole. He's gonna have to sneak a lap in like he did last time. Is Reese hiding something, or is he off so far in Q3? We'll never know until the end. And Sear, having mic issues, I'll continue to go on about the Chiller. Drivers on a lap behind that. The Chiller is also starting a lap as well, as you saw Josh do the same. Josh, the last of the drivers, 5th and 2nd of the front of the field. I hear an echo now.
I think I'm good. There we go.
Good.
Yeah. I'm thinking Reese
folks.
might be hiding a little bit of something on his lap. I mean, he 15-7 for sure. But I think he is probably hiding something, but we'll have to wait and see. As I'm on board with the Chiller right now, painting the Sector 1 split, 2/10 up.
Yeah, Ferrari needs something here, and it's going to happen this time with the Chiller, if it's going to happen with any of them. They need it for the Constructors' Championship very badly if they want to put themselves back in contention.
Very true indeed, as the Chiller working his way out of Sector 2 now. Now over 5/10 up.
Wow.
In Sector 2, so this is going to put him in the 2nd by the looks of it. We'll see how he gets his way through into Sector 3, as Josh, by the way, just puts himself in the 2nd with that 15-4. Not a bad lap there, but here comes the Chiller out of the final corner, across the line.
Wow.
And it is pole right now, 15-1. Wow.
You want to talk
What
about
a
potentially
lap there.
a Ferrari driver at risk of their seat right now? Well, get rid of that risk for just right now, because obviously with 3.5 minutes remaining, there's still others who can improve, but the Chiller showing what he can do for Ferrari.
There we go.
After his disappointments last week. Boss Cookie is 31,000 down in the 2nd sector. He's got to find that all in the last sector if he wants to improve in this lap. If he's recharging to go for, never mind. I was going to say, if he's recharging to go for another one, he could back off for that next lap and then go for one, but he's going to save himself right here by pitting new tires, it looks like, and doing what he can do to get himself onto pole position. So 3 different teams in the top 3, separated with the 4th and 5th place drivers behind that being the 2nd car of the teams in the top 3 who are in the Q3. Now it's a matter of the final runs, which we are just waiting 2.5 minutes for. Let's see who's on pole position. Titan, thoughts on the qualifying session as of right now with what we've seen so far?
Indeed. So it's anything is possible at the end for this qualifying session. Just over 2 minutes left in this session. It looks like TB is going to be the first one of this group to come out. Now with the pit lane going through there, these guys are going to have to come out probably within the next be there within the next minute 40 roughly in order to make it and get a lap in. I mean, literally, these guys are going to have to basically get in, get a set quick, and then just get right back out to try to get a lap out and going. TB is currently one out right now. Cam has come out. Cryptic's out. Boss Cookie is there too. Lewis Piper. Nope, not Lewis Piper. Red Fire's out. Everyone is basically coming out onto the track, so everyone is out on the circuit now. The Chiller is the back end of this field, but the question is he going to make it in time? Because there's a minute 23 left, and he's into turn 1.
Don't slow down now. You got to go 95% throttle at the very least. Our first driver who will cross the line is obviously Fake TB, but then it's a Hungry Storm behind that. All drivers looking to improve. Cam's the only one who did not set a lap from the opening part of Q3. Here we go. Fake TB starting a lap. Let's go on board with him and talk about this Alpine driver who has absolutely done a lot better in the Alpine than he has at Red Bull. Absolutely exceeding Alpine's expectations. A little wiggle out of turn 1. Down the ERS goes, and he's tugging the turn 2 entrance curve. A little slide there in entrance. Could have been a rear lock, but here he goes. Right curve now, and sets himself up for turn 4. Turn 4 track limits could be treacherous for Fake TV. 400th of an improvement. So, now trying to knock Lewis Piper out of the 6th spot right here. Turn 5 now, inside curve. Fake TV is absolutely pushing the limit. You can see he's exceeding everything he can try. Yellow flags, that's for someone starting a lap. And that's all happening in the last sector as the Chiller past the Aston Martin to try to get himself up toward the order and the flag in time as they hurry their way. The start finish line is the checker flag's about to wait. Fake TP does the sector split. It is 2 tenths off, and we could be seeing a couple drivers miss the flag. The McLaren gets by, the Ferrari gets by. The Aston Martin of Luke, though, is barely to the line in time. Fake TP, the final 2 corners, now the final corner. 3 tenths off he was on that time. Can Fake TP go toward the top 5 and set himself towards second in the championship today? Fake TP crosses the line. He improves, but no positions, though. In the middle sector, that was the Mercedes and Cryptic improving 3 tenths. Can Cryptic not getting them off their stride?
Cryptic currently right now sitting around towards 3rd place right now as he's getting through the last couple of corners. Next up is going to be Red Fire and then Cam as Cryptic comes across the line and he goes second fastest with that 15.2. Very good lap indeed. Here comes Red Fire now out of the final corner. Let's see what kind of a lap he is going to be putting in. And it is going to be 6th fastest with a 15.8. Here comes Cam now across the line. He goes 5th fastest with that 15.6. With that 15.6. And Reese only 4th. 15.4. And Josh upsets with the pole. My goodness.
And tied.
And Boss Cookie. And, oh my God.
Oh
you
my
gotta
God.
be kidding me!
Oh
my! Wow!
He sealed it at the last moment. The Chiller, 2 for 2 on getting pole, almost to the 14.9s. Talk about last week's struggles from 0 to hero. The Chiller goes.
Wow! I mean, and literally the gap between Josh and Boss Cookie, a millisecond between those two.
That was
my God.
Q1. There was probably the Q1 or Q2 time. Yeah, the Q2 is time to get into the next round. What a race we've got in our hands. I tell you, this is not my favorite track to commentate, but today it might be. The Chiller on pole over Josh, Boss Cookie, 3 different teams in the top 3, followed by Cryptic and Reese. So, 3.5 tenths between those top cars. Then you have Lewis Piper, who almost sneaked his way in. Cam, L74G, Red Fire Tiger, and Fake TB. Fake TB, who we saw 6th or 7th at one moment in that session, falls down to 10th after all the improvements. Those are qualifying sessions I just love to live for.
Yeah, and in the drivers' chat for Tier 1, everybody is talking about that millisecond difference. That is just wild and mental. So we're all loaded in now. We're just waiting on everyone to get their tire strats figured out. It will be interesting to see what everyone will be going on for this race. But here we go. Let's take a look at our grid here. Starting at the back, we're going to have Owen and Jack making up that back row. Then it is Blue Gagi and George in row number 9. Then we have Beatnik and Chaco making up row 8. Miniko and Zakaria making up row number 7. Row 6 is inherited by that person and Bourbon. And then our top 10, we have TB and Red Fire making up row 5. Luke and Cam making up row 4. Lewis, Piper, and Reese making up row number 3. I think this P5 for Reese is probably one of his lowest positions he started this season. Cryptic and Boss Cookie of Mercedes row 2. And then the front row, it is Josh and the Chiller leading this pack off as we get ready for this Hungarian Grand Prix event.
Soft to hard, medium to hard, reverse strategy. That's what you're looking for today. Here come the lights.
The 5 lights come on to start the RPL Hungarian Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go. Looks like it's a good reaction time from the Chiller. Boss Cookie trying to get past. Both Mercedes putting pressure on Josh as they hit into turn number 1. But Josh shakes off Cryptic's advance, but holds off Boss Cookie enough as cars are backing up and we have trouble in the backfield. Looks like Miniko and Bourbon got together. They're off somewhere in the back. Here we go. Luke and Cam getting close.
That got tight. Wow. Turn 4, here we go. This gets tricky, this area, because you want to run the file, but sometimes you just can't. It was Miniko and Bourbon way to make contact. Miniko getting the worst of it. Gagi had to cut turn 1 almost. Lucky not to get the penalty. They're side by side, Gagi and Chaco at the chicane. I believe Chaco had the yield right there, but now everybody is single file. Man, that got a little dicey. And Josh, who had a bad start, somehow holds on to second. He got almost sideswiped by both Mercedes right there. He had them on both sides, so he had to be careful which way he had to go into turn 1.
Indeed, and looks like everyone is getting themselves into filing in position here as we're about to finish off the first lap. It is the Chiller, Josh, Boss Cookie, Reese, Cryptic, Lewis Piper, Luke, Cam, as Josh heading down the inside against the Chiller into turn 1, and he gets the lead. And whoa, we got someone off.
Reese sent it, and he sent it a little too much.
Reese sent a little way too much, as you said. He went flying off in turn 1, and he lost multiple positions. He was in 4th, now down into 6th.
Cryptic's on
just take a look at the tire strats everybody's on. Josh and Blue Gagi have decided to chance it with the soft tires. Bourbon, Jack, Chaco, Red Fire, TB, Cam, Cryptic, and Boss Cookie on the hard compound tire. Everyone else is on the mediums.
Yeah, Lewis Piper must have took 2 at 1 there because he was passing Cryptic, and then as Reese sent it, I guess he took advantage of both. So Lewis Piper doing everything he can in that McLaren to show why he's a very, very talented driver in RPL, as he always has every weekend. And Reese is just looking again, can't do anything from it.
Indeed, on board with Reese. Like I said, in that turn 1, he tried to send it against 2, but it wound up biting him in the butt. He's fallen to 6th right now. He's lost 2 positions. He's lost at least 1 position from the start as Josh sets the fastest lap in the race and starts to take off as DRS is now enabled. Here comes Reese down the inside against Cryptic, and he gets the move done and is up into 5th place. Let's see if Cryptic is willing to make a shot there. It's a little bit further back in the field. Jack passes Beatnik to get himself into 15th. So Jack's slowly starting to work his way back up.
Jack up 4 places from the start. Blue Gagi up 7. So Blue Gagi getting his starts to perfection. He's got to stay there if he wants to have a chance for points in Tier 1, or at least finishing this race as he didn't last time in Saudi Arabia on his other start this season.
Now, Blue Gagi is looking for some good points. I mean, he's riding off a little bit of a hot streak, because he wound up finishing 9th place in the Tier 2 finale in Brazil. Well, he got a little loose at the S's. He's got Zakaria right on his tail. That is a fight. That could be a fight brewing up a little bit in this midfield, and it looks like Jack is eyeing up George for the 14th position. Now, George and Jack, they work together. They're part of the Ferrari Academy, so I wouldn't be surprised. I would definitely be surprised. I believe that George is going to let him through, and Jack will go up in the 14th. Meanwhile, a little bit further up in the field, Lewis Piper trying to put pressure on Boss Cookie to try to steal that 3rd place spot. He is literally right up the tailpipe of Boss Cookie. Is he willing to go for a shot? Looks like he might try to go around the outside in turn 2, but just can't seem to get it done.
While that happened, Jack Miles got progress there for 14th. Jack Miles up another place. That's 5 places gained in that Ferrari. So Ferrari trying to limit the damage that Red Bull has done to them in the constructors fight, with Jack Miles gaining places on the opening laps. So strategy won't come into play until a bit later, but the soft tire runners such as Goggy and Josh, we should see them pitting anywhere from, I would say, lap 12 or less. You don't really want to extend past that, but that is exactly why they're trying to make the most of their tires right now.
With 35 laps the distance, I think by the looks of it, this soft tire guys, when they come in, they're going to come in. When they come in, they're probably going to be going onto the hard compound tire, because if they do wind up hitting as you predicted, right around in, like, let's say like lap 10 or 11ish, to go 25 laps on those mediums might be pushing it a little too much. But unless they have really good tire management skills, it's possible. But I think going onto a mediums, getting off those soft tires is actually probably a huge risk. As Lewis Piper trying again on the outside against Boss Cookie. But Boss Cookie's like, no, you don't. You're going to have to try again. Covers off the inside to into turn 2. Almost contact as they're side by side out of 2. Oh boy, they're getting touchy here. Oh boy. My God, they're getting really close for comfort. Oh boy, there goes Lewis Piper.
That contact absolutely did that, and he tried re-entering in a safe manner, but he almost hit Luke in the process. While that happened, Zakaria got Goggy, and Owen got that person outside the points.
Lewis Piper going off the track in turn 4 because of that little touch from Boss Cookie. I mean, literally where he was, he couldn't rejoin. He couldn't rejoin in a safe manner, regardless of where he was. It's very tricky to rejoin in that section if you go off. But, but it's possible he might get in trouble. And it looked like Blue Goggy has spun out.
Yeah. Taco's got Owen. That happened while Blue Goggy had spun. Yellow flag still for Blue Goggy, trying to get back going, and a little bit of accordion effect at the penultimate corner in the back of the field. But yeah, it was a very odd section to rejoin, and now here comes Reese for the podium place. 3rd place on the chart. He does just that with the overtake on Boss Cookie. With that said, the rejoin there was very odd, considering that he let off, but he still was put in a position where he had to come in front of certain cars, and luckily, minimal contact at the most.
Indeed, I think probably with the Lewis Piper, the Lewis Piper rejoin, that could be noted by the stewards, and that contact between Lewis Piper and Boss Cookie, that could also be noted by the stewards as well.
I think there's also been something noted by the stewards with that person and Owen, maybe, unless they're all fine with hard racing right there at turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, and then they didn't crash into each other. They were very respectful about it and very all out as well in the process. This train, 13th on back now since Goggy spun, has really got itself under a lot of pursuit, with drivers running on the back of each other, finding the grip, finding anything they can to get past one another. And Blue Goggy's our first penalty, our driver to pick up a penalty in this race, excuse me.
Indeed, yes, he has. He's the first person to pick up a track limit penalty. As you mentioned, a nice big train right behind from basically, well, now it's basically 5th all the way down to 11th right now. That's what the train is right now, as hopefully maybe Jack will probably try to insert himself into it. Beatnik, by the way, just battling with George for the 13th place spot.
Inside left for turn 2,
banging side by side, the banging wheels.
Wow, this gets really tight, and they still touch out of the exit of turn 2 into 3. They can knock it off one of each other.
And Beatnik gets ahead.
There you go. That's decided for now. Until another day, and here comes that person on the outside of Choco. Turn 4, turn 5. He was trying it, but couldn't find enough grip around the outside. See, this is the difference between the medium and hard runners. You're stuck on a train with different guys to different tires. You want to get around them because of this whole situation with the undercut. And this exact train is losing time to guys like Jack Miles and guys up in front of that who are running for points. These guys are running for really any chance of a safety car or anything that could help the race later on. And here's that person inside of Choco. Couldn't do it, but he's still going to try it, heading to the penultimate corner, and he's going to wait another day. Short there.
I think he's waiting until the DRS to come in, and he'll probably put on a little more power. And speaking about when you were mentioning about the tires coming into effect for some of the drivers, it's actually towards the front. The Chiller is closing in on Josh, so probably those soft tires are starting to fall apart. So I'm probably going to say within the next lap or two, expect Josh to pit.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe, oh, there you go.
Oh, Josh in the penalty box.
So he's been really pushing the limits right here. As Fake TB is now going on the outside of Cam, and that got close by turn 5. Cam just cut him off, but I don't think Fake TB had any space to put his car in right there either. That got a little hairy between 8th and 9th place.
To be fair, probably knowing TB, he'll probably have a clip submitted against Cam claiming that he cut him off dangerously to try to get Cam penalized.
Don't worry, we'll flip it too.
Sometimes TB does have arguments with drivers, whether or not he is in the right or he's in the wrong. TB has had arguments with other drivers on incidents.
Tight in the lead. The lead's got close again. To Chiller,
indeed,
and taking note of Josh's penalty and his tire starting to fall off, because this is exactly around the time where it's going to happen, has honestly got himself in DRS, and he's honestly put Reese in the process as well as Red Fire Cam trade spots. Jack and Zakaria. There's a big battle right there that's even closer than this. Here's Cam and Red Fire Tiger once again. Oh, RG on the run to turn 2. It's going to be Fire Tiger with the inside line, kind of shoving Cam out wide and almost going around. But Cam goes through and is ahead, while Jack Miles waits his opportunity to take advantage of all that. Wow.
Cam wound up losing the spot to TB on the main straight. Red Fire just wanted to try to take advantage to get it done. They were side by side in a turn 2, and Red Fire got loose out of turn 2. And that's how Cam reclaimed and kept his 9th place position. And it brings Jack ever so closer, because Jack on board with him as he is chasing down Red Fire to get himself into 10th place and ultimately will get him into the points. He is on the hard tires just like Red Fire, so probably those hard tires are getting a little closer. But back up front, the Chiller closing in on Josh. Josh stanking in with a toe. Let's see what he's got. Where's the Chiller going to make the move? Is he going to go for a move? No, he's not. He's going to wait. I think he's going to try to go for a shot at turn 2. A little bit of a better exit than Josh is out of turn 1. Let's see where he's going to go. Will he go for a shot? No, he does not. The Chiller's waiting for an opportunity to go for it as Red Fire's decided to come into the pits.
Yeah, he's our first driver to come into the pits. He may have had some damage on his McLaren. Goggy also comes in the pits in the process as well for the first time in this race in his soft tires, which means we could be seeing Josh come in the next 2 to 3 laps, if not less. And if these guys are not careful enough with how they're managing their time around Josh, they could have Boss Cookie get into a 3-second window, which could honestly put in opposition for an undercut right here. So we do not want, we might want to see that as entertainers ourselves and commentators, but these drivers, they don't want to see that. And the scary part about the Chiller riding behind Josh is it closed Reese up to DRS, and now Reese is been within a second and been under 5/10 for the second lap running with this battle. Top 3 under a second. Here we go once again.
Here we go again. Let's see if DeChiller's willing to go for a chance for a move here. And let's take a look at the ERS deployments here. Josh is actually in trouble here. He's got about 12% left on that ERS, while DeChiller is sitting in the 30s. Reese, by the way, using a bit of his ERS as well. He's right around 50 for his ERS deployment. While further back, looks like that person got past Chaco and puts himself into 14th.
Yellow flags, Goggy is out.
And looks like, Blue Goggy has crashed off in turn 12.
That ruins Red Fire Tiger strategy with the safety car coming out. And Chaco couldn't get past that person either. 414 to the first safety car in the last 3 races.
Now, what's also going to be interesting is that, I mean, we know Josh is going to come in to get off of those softs. We probably going to say DeChiller and them, they're going to come in as well. But it's going to be kind of crazy because Reese is right close with these two. So, I mean, Reese will probably get away with the double stack. But it is going to put him a bit in a vulnerable place against one of the Mercedes, mainly Boss Cookie.
Well, I am worried about why that safety car came out with Doggy. Did he just lose it and go off, or did he just... The spot he was at worries me, because I've seen intentional safety cars in that area before, as we do have the leader's pit. Let's see what happens right here. A little bit of a hold up for the Red Bull of Reese. It might cost him a little bit in terms of going out of the pit lane. I don't think it did too much, but everyone just hurrying here, and actually did cost him. He's going to be behind Boss Cookie right here, Reese says. So everyone hurrying to get out of the pit lane is actually makes things interesting here. That person's the only driver in this race not to pit right here. A little race out of the pit lane. That person is third, though, so he's the only one out of the drivers yet to pit.
Yeah, so but that person has opted to stay out. He's still going to be on those medium tires. Now everybody came into the pits and switched off. So Josh went off of the soft tires. He is on the mediums. So maybe with the safety car could possibly play enough that he could gamble and go the rest of the way on those mediums. Boss Cookie was on the hards. He's on the mediums. Yeah, quite a few of these guys. They chanced it with the getting out those hards onto the mediums. So it's going to be quite interesting, to say the least, on what everyone is going to be doing. But yeah, that person, the only driver to stay out on the track, he is right now in third. So I'm thinking that person is thinking of just waiting a little bit further, maybe hoping for another safety car later, and go for whatever he's got.
Well, this is definitely a Red Fire Tiger strategy, regardless of where he's going to be, because he's 12th, and those guys he was running around get a free pit stop and get to go in front of him. So it's whatever happened with Blue Goggy is clearly costed McLaren, and I did clip it to see where he went off, so we could at least see the little dot on the track map to see if it looks like he lost it or if it's just whatever the situation was, because to me that's a very weird area to lose it. And we have Jack Miles coming back to the pit lane here after making already one pit stop in this race.
Yeah, so Jack returning back to the pits, and he's coming off of the mediums, and he's going right back onto the hard compound tire.
Interesting.
So this is going to be interesting, to say the least, because Jack did start on those hards, that I remember. Did he start? Let me just take a look here. Yes, he did. He did start on the hards, so he's on a fresh new set of hard compound tires. So he's probably had second thoughts about the mediums going the rest of the way. So he's thinking, I'll go back, get onto a fresh set of hards, and just hang it out and see what happens.
Absolutely.
So we'll reset the field here for you. So Josh is leading, but he does have that track limit penalty to worry on. DeChiller is sitting in second. That person is in third. And then the rest of our top 10, we have Boss Cookie, Reese, Luke, Lewis Piper, Fake TB, Cryptic, and Cam making up that top 10. Rest of the field, it is Redfire, Sicaria, Beatnik, George, Chaco, Minico, Owen, Bourbon, and Jack to make up the field. We have one retirement, that being Blue Gagi, crashed out in turn 12. Like I said, we have to find out what happened and why he crashed. And, okay, so just checking it, he said he got stuck on the curb and then he got stuck on the curb and was then flown into the barrier.
All right, then. So that's the end of his day, and the streak continues of 1-4 Academy driver out in at least every race this season. Not good news for them. Green flag back underway. Josh leads the 4 Academy driver. The Chiller now.
And Chiller not phased by the section here as they head down into the turn. Boss Cookie does get ahead of, and Reese actually gets past both Boss Cookie and that person, I think. But no, Reese backs off and had to get the place back. That's why Boss Cookie got a 5-second for passing that person. That glitch has happened again.
And here comes Reese once again. On that person, outside line for turn 4. That person cuts off L7-4G, making sure he's ahead by turn 4. And L7-4G's going to try it once again, but Lewis Piper's almost right there. Inside line now. How about the switch back to Dreams? That's all you could ask for. Inside line. That person is now vulnerable to his teammate, Lewis Piper, and now Cryptic and Cam. He's going all the motor. Staying out was such a bad choice from him.
Yeah, that person is just getting swallowed over by the field here as Redfire gets past him and gets into the points. But yeah, Boss Cookie, 5-second penalty for ignoring yellow flag. I mean, here's the reason, because once the race goes green, literally, apparently, the entire track stays yellow until the car in last crosses the line. And,
yeah, that's annoying.
Well, they crossed the start-finish line, and Boss Cookie passed that person, but then got told, get the place back, you illegally overtook, which is a stupid glitch, no doubt in my mind. So Boss Cookie could get that 5-second penalty removed.
Absolutely.
I mean, that glitch is just really nasty and ruthless.
It really is.
We first noticed it
because they don't know whether or not sit here and serve the 5-second eventually and then get it removed, or whether they should stay out, because that's a very scary situation as well.
Indeed, like I said, with that glitch, we had it first happen at Imola last week, where 5 drivers wound up getting affected by it, and I mean, with all 5 of them, they all got their penalties removed, which was a plus. Now Boss Cookie all over the back of the Chiller, and Josh, by the way, has already pulled away 1.5 seconds clear of the Chiller. By the way, that person just cleared that person. Not the Chiller. Beatnik just passed that person to get in the 13th.
Well, here we go. DS shooting this time on the straight. The one and only Buddha section point. Here goes inside line. I don't think he was going to go from that far back. That was the Mercedes. But in front of that, we've got a battle. The Aston Martin and the McLaren. They get tight into turn 2. Inside line for L7-4G. Lewis Piper going to hang it on the outside. Cannot do it right there. He's still going to hang in for turn 3, actually. He's going to cut back for run toward turn 4. And now the Chiller's got a penalty. All 3 in the top 3 have a penalty. And Lewis Piper gets shoved out almost wide. Here's turn 5 now. Lewis Piper's still hanging in there. L7-4G on the outside, still trying something toward the chicane. And they're going to have to go single file here, and they do.
Wow, talk about side-by-side banging after banging action here.
And make contact.
Woo! My goodness, these guys are just fighting it hard. I mean, literally, Lewis Piper and Luke just side-by-side from turn 1 all the way to the chicane. They kept it together, kept it tight, and fighting hard. But Lewis Piper overcame and came out on top against Luke. Now Luke is going to have to think about trying again. But also, Luke has to worry about right behind him because he's got TB and Cryptic right up his tail. As you mentioned before, the Chiller also into the penalty box now. Now this is going to put... Now, once with Boss Cookie, once he gets his penalty taken off, at the moment right now, with the penalties coming into effect, Boss Cookie does currently right now hold the lead.
Yeah, don't look long because Reese could get in that gap too. Jack Miles and Broken Boy also played it out as well for 13th place. This is outside of the points, but if any of them find any pace or there's any sort of chaos, they can get themselves back up there as well. So right in front of Jack is exactly where the DRS train ends from 5th on back.
And that DRS train is in full effect. It starts with Lewis Piper, ends all the way down at Chaco, but Jack is starting to gain some ground to try to catch up into this train. And once he does hook up, that train is basically going to go to the whole back of the field. At the moment, Jack has his own DRS train from him all the way back to the last place, which is Owen right now.
Absolutely.
I'm wondering which one of these guys is actually going to break away and try to go for a position here.
Well, not only that, but a lot to consider as well for these tires. You know, obviously the safety car came out around the time where you want to pit, but also at the same time, you've got to get your tires in a decent, stable position to not have a puncture by the end of the race as well. That's where it gets tricky. Some of these guys, they're not always the best at tire escaping, and you can see top 3 being some of these guys. Also not the best as well when it comes to penalties in the race. So all this stuff you have to manage, especially in that battle. You saw L74G in that battle. You saw Lewis Piper in that battle. All big stuff to manage when you've got cars around you. And with the 3-second penalties from in front of Reese, Reese would have the P2 finished right now if the race were to end at this current moment. And remember, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, they're on different tires than those top 2. Mediums and hards are your difference right there as we're about to reach halfway.
Indeed, so we have hit the halfway point of this race, and just take a look at Cam right now. He is really up close and personal with Redfire. Cam has been showing up some really strong sides. Oh boy, he gets a little loose and entering the penultimate corner, but keeps it together, and looks like he did lose just a little bit of time against Redfire, but maybe not this time as he's coming down. He's getting really close. He's going to make the shot down the inside. And Cam puts himself into the 9th place spot.
What happened there? Fake TB at turn 1. He just lost the place to Cryptic and went wide for I don't know what apparent reason it was, but he's gonna have to fight this back now.
I'm gonna fix my mic.
All good. It's the top 10.
Come on.
With Redfire Tiger ending it, with that train pulling away from Zakaria. At the very back of that train. You also have Beatnik and Miniko, the 2 teammates in 15th and 16th, who are running a very lonely race. If any sort of chaos happens, Williams would love to get themselves a couple of points today. Williams and Aston Martin already more points than last season, as we mentioned last week. So a lot to play for here in today's race. Only one gap so far as we're past halfway. As for drivers and statistics and a lot of things we focused on this season, just something I want to go off of. There's 14 drivers who've at least started 3 or more races who finished every race they've competed in. It looks like that stat would continue today as things do stand. And DRS does follow itself from 6th on back down to turn 1, all getting their stuff set up for an overtake. And remember, although we have penalties at the front of the field, margin of victory under a second in the last 3 races. We can see it again as Redfire Tiger makes a move on Cam. Cryptic on L74G. A little slide there for 6th place on this race. L74G gonna come back at it, but not enough to make the pass for 6th place once again. As behind that, Redfire Tiger and Cam also do get out for possession. I think it's Cam who's going to stay in front, and it is Miniko and Beatnik, the teammates, swap positions.
Yeah, quite a few fights to say the least there, as like said, Cryptic passing Luke to get himself into 6th place. Cam holding off Redfire to keep his 9th place, and Williams switching for 15th. Just taking a look at the positions here. So with the penalties being removed, oh boy, as Cam gets himself in the penalty box, that's not what he would want. But anyway, so with the penalties being applied and a penalty possibly to be removed, like I said, Cookie is looking to take first in this event. Josh is going to be moving down to second, and Reese is going to nip the Chiller of third place.
A lot of stuff happening in Hungary, or could be happening in the steward's office. We hate to see it, but we love to see the battling continue. As you see, 13th place right now, Jack Miles on the inside line. That's Choco he's trying to overtake. He gets the move done. It's Jack Miles, moves up to 12th, and Beatnik and Minico take spots once again. In front of that, Fire Tiger is still trying to get by Cam for 9th place, who has a penalty.
Very wild indeed, but yeah, Jack is going to have to pass a couple more cars to get himself into the points right now. He is just being hampered by these DRS trains. Now, this was the same thing that affected George last week in Silverstone. That's why he couldn't move much in the field, because of those DRS trains and not much opportunities to make attacks and gain positions. But in Jack's case, yes, he is being held up by DRS trains, but he is advancing positions much quicker as well. Red Fire is just having some lag spikes right at the end of that little mini street right there as I was on board with Jack. But with Red Fire having some problems, this is actually going to open up an opportunity. Oh wait, no, that was Cam that had that problem. Anyway, but yeah, it's kind of vulnerable Red Fire. There we go. As we had the little snake version. As whoa boy.
Oh, they touch again.
Touch
and
they're off and around. Oh my goodness.
In front of Phoenix, they re-enter. That got hairy again.
That was just nuts. I mean, we wound up seeing it from our eyes in that incident between Red Fire and Cam. I mean, who do you think is primarily going to be at fault for that one?
I don't know. I'm not sure, but I didn't get to see the full thing either way. Minico was picked up a time penalty, and speaking of who could be at fault for something, Reese has caught himself up to this top two battle. I shouldn't say top two battle, but second place battle with Boss, Cookie, and the Chiller. And remember, Reese does not have a penalty to his name. So a lot of things to focus on in this race. That's Cam out of this race.
Cam's crashed.
To bring out the virtual safety car.
Cam crashes in the same area that Blue Goggy has crashed out in.
A little further down.
And TV's taking advantage by going into pits.
Yeah, maybe waiting on it to be a full safety car. Don't know. If it isn't, though, and he's going for a two-stop and trying to find ways to gain time on these guys, this would be perfect if it does work out. I think
DSC is out because of Cam's crash. So that was super unfortunate for Cam there. He was fighting really hard this race. He had good promise as well like I said, in the qualifying session and so far in this race. He was doing pretty good in some of the battles, but then that tangle with Red Fire really snuffed out the fire that Cam was going for.
Yeah, and as this virtual safety car comes out, it does give some people an opportunity to recharge your battery, save a bit of tires. Obviously, the gap, the lead is 5 seconds. DRS back enabled once again. Red Fire Tiger on Groggers and Fake TV gets ahead of Minico right there. And now Cryptic on Lewis Piper. He caught him napping right there for 5th place as well. So, with the tire
Cryptic
lengths,
catching Lewis Piper off guard and swipes into 5th place and gets ahead. Now Lewis Piper has to regain to get past Cryptic, but also has Luke to worry about right behind him. Jack, by the way, back up into 8th place as TB and Beatnik were fighting it out in the last couple of corners, and TB is up into 11th, so he's got one more car to get past, that being Choco, to get into the points. But TB over 5 seconds behind Choco.
So with the guys who pitted, most of them kind of split some strategies here. You see 3 guys in mediums, 2 guys in softs, because softs make it potentially. Zakaria is around right there at turn number 1. Fake TB goes through his Minico pits. With the tire lengths that we're talking about now, the soft tires, they can probably make it. The mediums, they can make it. But the guys on 12 lap or more mediums, that's where my puncture territory becomes the concern right here. That's what I'm worried about with some of these drivers.
Indeed. I mean, they could go. I mean, Josh is one of those guys on that set. 12 lap old medium. Same with Boss Cookie. I mean, literally, they're going to be looking close to 24 laps on these medium tires. I mean, I don't even know what the tire wear is like at Hungary in these F1 cars, but I think literally going this far, I mean, they're really pushing. They're going to be really pushing it in regards to the tire wear. I'm probably going to safely assume. I mean, even if they try to manage it to try to only have about 3% wear a lap, I mean, it's going to be tight. But I mean, if they're really pushing it and going for like 4 or something like that, they're going to be kind of screwed.
I get my tire lengths from a certain place I cannot mention on stream. But with that said, it's very accurate with what's in the game cycle. With the guys currently on medium tires, not Redfire and not that person either, who just the fastest laps, the guys who are on medium tires for 13 or more laps, the concern for them is it's currently 40-ish%, maybe 39 at the bare minimum, 40 to 45 you're looking at, maybe more if you deploy a lot of ERS. That's the concern right now, because by the end of this race, they're going to be 60, 70. They're in that puncture territory, because the mediums, you're 20 to 23s puncture territory, and that's where they're going to end this race on. So for them, we might see a little bit of worrying from these guys, and this could put the Chiller and Reese in a good position if there is punctures that could happen. And here goes the Chiller on Boss Cookie.
Yeah, the Chiller taking advantage of Boss Cookie down the inside, and he gets himself into second place.
And that's exactly what does it.
There. And as you mentioned it, like I said, Josh, Boss Cookie, but there's 2 more. We had Cryptic and Choco. Those guys are on 14 lap old medium tires. So those guys are probably going to be worrying about the chance of puncturing the tires. But with the guys on the hard compound tire, like the Chiller, Reese, Lewis Piper, and them, they should be in the safe. They should definitely be in the safe zone. But I think their hard tires are probably, maybe by the end of this, it could be in the 60s to low 70s range.
Alpha Tires scored 4 consecutive points finishes in the last 4 races, so if Choco does hold on, that'd be a 5th for them, considering how they started their season off. It's been a bit iffy, so that'd be absolutely perfect. Big TB strategy, I have to talk about this. He's just gained over a second on Jack. I'm really liking the strategy, especially those guys in comparison on the hards. In front of that, L74G, a similar car performance to him as he's getting on Jack. This could really shake Fake TB if punctures happen up for a top 5 and Boss Cookie is pitting potentially in risk of a puncture or for a 2-stop here. Soft tires, he has to go
Boss
early.
Cookie wasn't willing to risk that gamble as that person is in the penalty club. And unfortunately, Boss Cookie has to serve that penalty that he got for ignoring yellow flag. That is not what he wanted. So he's gonna fall even further, which means sadly that penalty he's not gonna get it removed. And because of him serving it, I mean, unfortunately, Boss Cookie is gonna come out behind Beatnik in 11th.
Beatnik having a good chance to score points today in this battle with Minico that he's had. It's obviously helped him a little bit more with those guys who pitted around him. So now he's just got to hold on his 10th spot. It's gonna be a little bit tricky to do so, but he could do it if there's a lot of punctures in the last couple of laps with those medium runners that we talked about. Hard runners, they're not likely to get it as much. If they've really pushed it, it's like lap 23 where you could at the very earliest get a puncture on those hards. Most of these guys will end off with 23 laps done. If they've really pushed it, they'll get a puncture at that point. But if they haven't, they won't. So I like Fake TB strategy with what he's tried. It's worked out perfect in my eyes. and he's just toward the back of Jack, almost at the DRS. He's just got to continue to push. I'm surprised that he didn't go stopped, but it actually helps out for his tire wear within the remaining couple laps. As Reese gets by the Chiller for second place, Reese is through to make the Red Bull 1-2 on the board.
So it looks like Reese just got past the Chiller to get himself back into second. Now he's just got his teammate to close down on, and his teammate will get himself into the chance for a win possibly, and even increase his championship lead further as TB does pass Jack in turn 2 to get himself into 7th place.
I was just calculated because he's got Jack at, I guess, a vulnerable spot, as I guess Jack is weaving a bit around. Maybe upset with TB, I'm not too sure. Either way, it's 6 seconds down the road for TB to catch Alston 4G, which has Cryptic leading puncture territory right there in that battle. And it could put them vulnerable if Cryptic's pace continues to slow down. That's what is the worrisome part for guys like Lewis Piper and L74G trying to hold on over TB.
Indeed.
I knew you were gonna
Now
say
Cryptic
indeed.
does have that little tiny train himself. He's got Lewis Piper and Luke there. Josh is still continuing on. We're on lap 29. We're about to start lap 29 of 35, so about 6 laps left in this Grand Prix. Josh is keeping cool on the lead, 5.4 seconds ahead of his teammate. The Chiller is sitting in 3rd right now. Cryptic right now 6.1 seconds behind the Chiller in 4th. So right now this top 3 is looking to be what it could be for this one, as Boss Cookie goes at fastest lap of the race and overtakes Choco to get himself into 9th place.
Redfire also gets by Beatnik in the process as well after his spin and debacle with Cam, as that person gets ahead of Grogger. So only 2 retirements in this race. Again, 3 consecutive races where the DNF part has got better. Lack of incidents maybe a little bit better too, as we head to Belgium next week, which every league race I've had there when commentating or driving just always seems to be a crapshoot. And I'm hoping it isn't that way this time around as well, Belgium. But we've had a string of clean races, though, in RPL for Tier 1 with DNF rates and less incidents penalized. So let's keep it that way into Belgium as we're about to reach 5-6 laps to go area. We'll see who can hang on for these spots in the remaining stages of the race. You still have Lewis Piper trying to catch Cryptic too. This could be a big battle for 4th place at the end of this race. Cryptic with 3 4th place finishes in a row.
Now Lewis Piper trying to eye up Cryptic for the position. Now these two are both on 17 lap old tires. Now Lewis Piper is on the harder compound. So that means he'll have a lot less tire wear than Cryptic does. Now Boss Cookie decided to play it safe, and he decided, yeah, I'm gonna go pit because I don't want to risk it. I'm thinking he wasn't saving enough in his tire wear department, so that's why he wound up having to pit. But right now he is 2.9 seconds behind Jack in the 9th place position. But meanwhile, the other cars, that being Josh, Cryptic, and Choco, who are sitting in 1st, 4th, and 10th. They're the only 2 that are still going on the medium tires that they were on after the first safety car earlier in this race. We'll be looking at 5 to go as Josh comes out of the final corner. We'll cross the line and start with 5 to go. The Chiller is unfortunately out of DRS range against Reese, so Reese can now have a bit of a breather. But 5.1 seconds separate him and his teammate. But I don't think Reese is going to be worried about it too much, because he'll still gain 18 points on Scyther coming in with his championship. And speaking of which, going into the live championship results here, TB right now, TB and the Chiller, as they sit right now, they will be overtaking Scyther in the drivers' championship. However, the Chiller, at the moment in the live championship results right now, he will be inheriting 2nd by overtaking TB, who will go into 3rd, and Scyther will fall to 4th.
Wow. I have to also say as well, SM4G, while you were talking about it, went off at turn 13, I think it is. Let me just check to be sure. Turn 12. He went off at turn 12, and I don't know how he's not lost DRS from that. And I have to also speak about Jack Miles' is kind of similar recovery in a way. 18 laps in the hards, 8th place right on the board, about to get overtaken by Boss Cookie. Jack Miles, P5 in the championship, trying to hang on to that as well since you spoke about the championship. He's the only driver in the top 5 in the championship that has yet to win a race this season. Got the car to do so for Ferrari today, but he had to start at the back of the grid. Now he's under threat from Boss Cookie for 8th place. Here goes Boss Cookie, showing which way he wants to go. Inside line for turn 1. Boss Cookie's through with ease.
And you know the funny thing is that when you were mentioning about drivers that have won, it looks like Owen has gone for a spin just before the penultimate corner. But if Bourbon wound up overtaking Chaco, Bourbon was in 10th place. A really funny, crazy fact here is the top 10, but in this case right now, the top 9, they're all previous race winners in RPL. I mean, Josh is currently the most recent. But currently, like the first person to win out of the group of 9 is actually DeChiller. DeChiller was the very first one to do it. Luke was, I think if I'm trying to remember it right. Yeah, DeChiller was the first one. Luke was the second one. Reese was the third. I believe TB was after him. Then Boss Cookie. Cryptic wound up being after Boss Cookie. Then Lewis Piper, Jack, and Josh.
Getting hairy tighten once again for 4th place. You're going to want to switch to this battle because it is still not over between Cryptic, Lewis Piper, and L74G for 4th through 6th. They're all finding ways to get by one another, and
I am on board with Lewis Piper right now.
Is not far away either. 1.5 that gap. The tires obviously starting to wear off, but not too much. As also Beatnik and that person traded spots right there for a position. However, it's all to play for in terms of risks, punctures, whatever may happen. We might not see a single puncture happen in the last couple laps, but what we could see is a complete fall off in terms of tires from some of these guys.
Speaking of wrist, as you were just mentioning, I just checked the timing screens. Reese is about half a second away from being within 3 seconds of Josh right now. And with just 2 laps to go, can Reese reel in Josh by 6/10 to claim another win in his career?
I mean, both of them are below 10% of the battery, while the chiller.
Here goes Lewis Piper.
Oh!
Going for a shot on Cryptic to go for 4th. Ooh, tight. Oh boy.
Here we go. Lewis Piper outside line into turn 2. Cryptic has to yield the spot. He also is just covering off L74G right there. And within the final lap, the ATV is right there as well as Bourbon Boy overtakes his teammate Chaco for the point spot. But Chaco's going to switch it back this time, side by side on the run toward turn number 3. And you see Cryptic and L74G get close. That got hairy. Here comes Big TB.
And Luke almost losing it. Oh my God, these guys are so tight and close.
Oh! He caught.
TV went around, I think, for contact from Boss Cookie.
And Chaco is off in the process as well. That was from contact with either Bourbon or Redfire. So 2 spins in a span of a lap as we start the final lap. That
My
contact
goodness.
with TB right there. I saw that, and Boss Cookie died down the inside. Should he have left him space or not? I don't know, but he cut him off, thinking he was going to back out, and he just didn't.
And unfortunately, TB winds up plummeting down to 9th, and I think he's probably not happy with it.
No.
He's probably not happy at all, as Luke fighting Cryptic again, this time to bash in, and Luke gets sent wide.
And now this puts him vulnerable to Boss Cookie, who's on fresher tires, and the gap between the lead gets close again. 4/10 to get within penalty range from Josh. The fuel is
Boss
also low
Cookie
in the
looking
top
on,
two.
looking at, whoa, Boss Cookie's off! Hard into the wall.
Somehow
My God.
still ongoing, but the gap between the lead within penalty range is 3/10. That gap from the mediums, it's closing. You can see the tires from Josh, it's starting to die off. Is it going to be enough, though? Reese is closing that gap. 2/10 to now get within 3 seconds. Is he going to do it by the final corner?
Well, he comes out of the final corner. Let's see what happens. Josh is going to come across the line. He's going to cross the line at first, and he is going to keep it by 2/10. Josh wins in Hungary. Reese second. The Chiller will come across the line. He will successfully claim third place.
Oh, some 4G gets cryptic.
Will get the fourth. Wow. Luke gets past and gets himself in the fifth. Cryptic will be 6. Boss Cookie 7. Jack is 8. TB 9, and Bourbon is going to be wrapping it up, and he will finish in the 10th place spot. My God, what a wild last couple of laps.
I'm so sad you barely missed that. Bourbon Boy ends up keeping up Atari's point streak alive. The Chiller keeps up his consecutive finishing streak alive. As Groggers and that person also trade spots after the flag. I don't know what that was about. That's a glitch on my end. Well, that would make sense. That was a glitch on my end. Either way, that's your Hungarian Grand Prix. 2 DNFs to this race. You know, that's the third time that's happened this season. Only 2 DNFs by the end of the flag.
Wow, I guess I was wrong on the tire wear because Josh just said he had mid 60s for his tire wear.
Must have saved it a little bit. He was going a little slower in certain areas to save it, and obviously the ERS was low, but he wasn't using it after that too much either. Once it was low, you can't really recover it either way. Once it's that low.
Yeah, Darius says he was still driving like a grandma, and he only got 70. He was in the mid 70s.
Yeah, exactly. And fair play to the Chiller. You know, 0 to hero again, right? With the pole position, I know he didn't win the race. Ferrari would have probably expected him to do so, but in all honesty, he at least got a top 3 out of it. He at least got where he should have. And last week and even weeks before that, just the inconsistency issues from Darius, it's not much of a problem from this week. He bounds to recover. As you know, we'll see your final results on your board right now.
Absolutely. So, yeah, Josh claims his second win of the season, his second win in his Tier 1 career. Reese just couldn't close it up enough to get the win. Just a couple tenths behind via the track limit penalty. The Chiller will have to settle for third place. Lewis Piper 4. Luke 5, Cryptic 6, Boss Cookie 7, Jack in 8, TB 9, and Bourbon in 10th place. Rest of the field, Redfire, Beatnik, That Person, George, Zakaria, Minico, and Owen was the last one on the lead lap. And then our DNFs, Chaco, Cam, and Blue Goggy. Those were our DNFs there. Nope. Just out of curiosity, who do you think is driver of the day for today?
Funny enough, I was just thinking of that. I will have to say Josh. I cannot say Reese from today's performance. You know, your second Tier 1 win there. It's very interesting, the 2 tracks it comes at, Canada and Hungary. 2 tracks that I'd personally say are a little bit trickier to overtake on the calendar compared to the most usual tracks you run. So as for Josh, he did a good performance, held on, and even had a bad start to the race. So, fair play to Josh. I would give him my driver of the day. And Red Bull 1-2, that's the third time that's happened this season. Second in a row as well.
I'm thinking for my driver today, basically off of pace and just keeping it calm and just navigating his way through the field. I'm probably gonna say in that regard it'll be Jack. Because, I mean, literally, the guy started in dead last, and he worked his way up to 8th place. So that was actually a good work for him. to navigate through and get 12 positions despite being held up in some of those DRS trains. Another person in regards to moving around in the field, we also have to give credit to Lewis Piper. He was working his way through the field, taking the fight to Mercedes, and was even holding his own against not only Cryptic's attacks, but also against Luke as well. So Lewis Piper is also someone else to take into consideration as well.
I agree.
Indeed. Well, that is going to conclude the stream for today. Like I said, so tomorrow at 7 p.m. UK, we will be hosting the basically the driver draft to see who is going to be in what for F2 Season 18. As for next week, I don't know what is going to be on for the Tier 2 calendar or what's going to be on for the F2 calendar. Maybe I could convince Owen to see if he could get both of them available and released before we go into the draft stream. Hopefully he'll have that available. But next week for Tier 1, we will be racing around in at Belgium. So, crazy race to finish off for this weekend. We had great finales to finish off for F2 and Tier 2. And if you want to missing that, just to mention with that, let's see, for F2, BRT Griffith wound up winning for Prima. Prima wound up stealing the Constructors' Championship from under Charouz. What a result there. As Ryan Alcon mentioned earlier, Beatnik wound up claiming victory in Tier 2. We already had the championships decided with Scyther winning the Drivers' Championship in F2. As said, Prima Constructors Champions for the first time since Season 4 in F2. And then for Tier 2, Owen wound up collecting his third Drivers' Championship in Tier 2. And Red Bull wound up collecting yet another Constructors' Championship. But now, next week, we will be kicking it off for the second half of the Tier 1 season. So, from RPL Streams, Titan Ironwolf, joined by Ryan Alcon, we say good night and have a good one.